Hi, this is Valerie Chow. I am one of the program directors for Cardinal Quarter undergraduate fellowships at the Haas Center. I use she, her, hers pronouns.
Hi, I'm Hillary Douglas, and I am the other program director for undergraduate fellowships in the Cardinal Quarter program at the Haas Center, also she, her, hers.
And welcome to our Cardinal Quarter Haas Center Fellowships information session for the academic year 2020 to 2021.
All right, to kick us off, we're going to talk a little bit about what Cardinal Service is. The Haas Center is the hub of Cardinal Service, but it does happen in a myriad ways all around campus. The first is Cardinal Courses. You can take a course that applies classroom knowledge to addressing real-world societal problems, really getting that experiential learning along with your coursework. There is Cardinal Careers, which is looking at what you can do after Stanford and how you might want to pursue public service in your career and beyond. There is also Cardinal Commitment. In Cardinal Commitment, students make and sustain a service commitment to a program or an organization for at least 3 quarters. They're based on a community partnership and engage students in developing their public service leadership capacity. Opportunities in Cardinal Commitment range from participating in a student group or with a community organization or leading a community organization or any kind of long-term service project. But we're going to focus today on Cardinal Quarter. If you're interested in Cardinal Courses, Cardinal Commitment, or Cardinal Careers, we would highly recommend you check out the cardinalservice.stanford.edu for more information.
So what is Cardinal Quarter? Well, broadly speaking, Cardinal Quarter is the umbrella initiative where we are providing opportunities for students to engage in full-time service opportunities that are quarter long. So these are typically, at least 8 to 10 week opportunities that, will require you to work full-time 35 hours a week or more at your host organizations or with your host organizations. And then you will receive Stanford support for it, which includes funding. So for this presentation, we will focus mostly on the Haas Center sponsored fellowships, Cardinal Quarter fellowships, just because that's the programs that we run and administer. And we can also kind of point you to some of the campus partners that we work with in the Cardinal Quarter initiative. There are about 30 campus departments that have these opportunities. And they're all in public service, obviously. Okay, so what do we require for the Haas fellowships that are part of Cardinal Quarter? We require 9 consecutive weeks of full-time work, meaning 35 hours of a week or more. You will receive a stipend for your experience once you receive a Cardinal Quarter fellowship from the Haas Center. Our stipend level this year, we will start at $5,500. And then there are financial aid supplements available for those who qualify for financial aid, as well as cost of living adjustments if in-person work will be happening when you engage in your Cardinal Quarter for certain areas that you may be going to in the country and in the world. You can engage in any pathways of public service. We don't, you don't only have to do direct service. You can do, policy work. You can do philanthropy work, community organizing, community-based research. We are open to any pathway of public service. It's pretty broadly defined. And we have a few types of different opportunities available. The first type is what we call prearranged opportunities, where the host organization is already set up for you. So you don't have to go and look for your own internship with the host organization. You can just kind of apply to the ones that we have already identified for you. So this would look something like the Schneider Fellows Program, where there's some environmental energy agencies that we work with, or the Stanford Government Fellows Program, for example. And then the second type of opportunities are the self-designed placements, where you are going out and seeking out your own host organization, securing an internship with them, and then coming to apply to us for funding. And then the third, more nuanced opportunity is what we call projects. And with that, you are taking the lead in designing and implementing a project in conjunction with your community partner, and you're going to have a tangible deliverable at the end of your Cardinal Quarter experience that you'll leave behind with your community partner, and that can be sustained after you leave. So those are the 3 main types of opportunities. Depending on the fellowships, they're just it'll differ. For this upcoming spring or summer, we are not certain yet whether remote work will be required or not. It will depend on forthcoming university policies as well as local health conditions. And check our website to keep updated on that, or send us an email and we can let you know once we have more guidance. And the application deadlines are listed here on the slide. We are running the program both in the spring quarter and the summer quarter this year. The spring application deadlines for domestic placements are on February 1st. And then if you would like to go internationally for the summer, the deadline is February 15th. And that's also dependent on whether university policies will allow you to travel. But so far, we're going to set the summer international deadline for February 15th, and then summer domestic deadline for March 15th. So keep those dates in mind.
Great.
Okay, and this slide shows you where to find all the different Cardinal Quarter programs. So there are different ways of kind of searching through and looking at all of these different opportunities. The first is our Cardinal Service website. The link is shown on the slide. And then the second way to look at everything is the Involve Me site that we're using for our Cardinal Quarter fair that has passed already, but we're going to leave the site up for the rest of the year. And that site will have a very comprehensive list of all of the opportunities that are being offered during this academic year, both spring and summer, as well as all of the contact information for all of the programs. And it will also divide everything up by themes. So that probably would be a pretty good site to navigate. Most applications will be collected on the Solo platform, Stanford on and off campus learning opportunities platform. So that's where you'll be submitting your applications for most of these opportunities. And then the last thing it's a kind of interesting, fun thing to look at is our Cardinal Quarter map, where we have collected, it's a map showing where folks have worked for the Cardinal Quarter program in the past, since summer of 2016. So you can kind of click through and see which host orgs folks have worked with in the past and what issue area they worked on and things like that.
Great. So I'm going to talk through a couple of examples from the last 2 summers, which were very different summers, right? One was in person and one was completely remote. Our first picture on the left is Regina, who was one of our projects fellows. Regina was at the Indian Islands Institute in Alaska, working on collecting oral histories and combining them for the Indian Island Institute. Barry was an African Service Fellow working at the TAMU Central Organization for Educational Equity. He was working on proposals for school systems that really focused on the learner's interests and strengths. The middle picture is Sarah Sterling, Kalea Woods, and Rachel Vaughn, who were Education and Youth Development Fellows working at the Spring Initiative in Mississippi. So they were working with a youth program in rural Mississippi throughout the summer. Iode was a Stanford and Government Fellow at the National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C., working as a research and curation intern studying the topic of Afrofuturism through all different sources of media. And then this past summer, Parth was a SIG Fellow in the California Department of Education, working on the development of a growth model, an evaluation of college and career indicator, and a novel project to understand student mobility.
Okay, great. And for those of you who are interested in doing a self-designed opportunity where you're finding your own host organization and then securing the internship or fellowship and then coming to us for funding through the Cardinal Quarter program, we have some tips on how to find your own community partner. The first thing that we wanted to highlight is we have a spreadsheet that we call Cardinal Quarter Connections. It's a Google sheet where we have right now over 60 organizations looking specifically to work with Stanford students through the Cardinal Quarter program. So you can kind of browse through that. Their host organization's contact information is right on the spreadsheet. You can email them directly to apply for the position that they have available, talk to them about what they're about. And then once you receive an offer from the host organization, come fill out an application for us for funding. And then another great way to find a host organization is to look through what former summer fellows and have done, and kind of you can contact them and ask them if you see something interesting, to ask them about the experience and see if they can connect you to their host organizations. And then our peer advisors, the Cardinal Quarter peer advisors, are also really great. They've all found organizations before themselves, so they can have great tips about what to write to them in the cover letter and things like that. And then the Stanford Alumni Network is also a really great resource for all of you. You can establish an account right now and on the Alumni Network, and then use the directory to look up alums based on their industry area, or even in a specific organizations and things like that, and then reach out to them. Alums are super helpful to undergraduates, so definitely highly recommend using that channel. And then obviously Stanford faculty and staff can also be helpful to you if you're taking a class in the subject matter that you're interested in, and you want to do something more in depth for a Cardinal Quarter experience in that issue area. The faculty member teaching that class may have connections for you to explore, as well as staff that can also connect you to good resources as well. And then that those would be your kind of in-network resources for finding a community partner. And there are definitely open web resources that you can use. We recommend a few on our website, including Handshake, which is Beam's job posting website, which is really great. Idealist.org, volunteermatch.org, and your friend Google. There are other resources on the web to find finding a community partner as well.
All right, so a little bit about the program components for the selected fellows. This is more than just the internship experience. We do preparation as well as post-experience work. So for pre-experience, in that quarter before your fellowship begins, there is an online program orientation. We also have our Principles of Ethical and Effective Service workshop, or a worksheet, depending on timing and what works best for you. We also ask all students to design a learning plan. So I know there's a lot of folks who might think of this as a tedious task or assignment, but this is a really great way to sort of strategically think through what it is that you want to get out of this experience. What do you want to learn? What do you hope to walk away with at the end? And we ask that you do this in partnership with your host organization so that you're all on the same page about what you want to learn and what you hope to bring back to campus with you, and for any future steps that you're going to take, that you could rely on this experience. During the experience, this is a full-time commitment. That means 35 hours per week for 9 consecutive weeks. This does not mean that you can do, extra weeks for less time or take vacation in the middle. It's really important for our program that it's 9 consecutive weeks, 35 hours per week. So this is just like having a full-time job, going every day, getting the work done for 9 consecutive weeks. For folks who are looking to explore these opportunities for the spring, we would want everybody to start anytime from when the winter quarter ends up until April 5th. So those are your start dates for the spring. And then for folks who are pursuing these opportunities in the summer, you can start anytime after the spring quarter ends, but no later than July 6th. So keep those start dates in mind. And again, figure for 9 consecutive weeks from the day that you start. We do reach out to you during the experience. We have a couple of check-ins along the way. At the end, we do want to hear from you. We want an evaluation of your experience. There's a reflection that we'll have you do as well in the form of a final report. We also need to thank our donors. So the funding for this does not wholly come even majorly come from Stanford University, the majority of this funding does come from individual donors who have come and said, you know what, I really want to support students working in public service in the communities. So in order to preserve that for fellow students down the road, we want to make sure that we're thanking our donors for these opportunities so that more students can have them in the future. And then after the experience is over, we do have a few reflection activities. There is the opportunity to present. We did not have the symposium on undergraduate research and public service this past year, but we're hoping that moving forward that we will have that poster presentation opportunity for folks again. And that PS of SERPs does stand for public service. So we have as much representation for folks doing public service as for research, which is great. And then we ask that you also serve as an ambassador to the fellowships program. Help us get the word out there, help let other students know that these opportunities exist.
Okay, so who is eligible to apply for these opportunities? Generally, basically anybody who is a Stanford student can apply, but continuing undergrads usually get preference. So if you're graduating senior, you will get lower priority. You can still apply, but priority will be given to folks who will be returning. This year, there are additional eligibility requirements. We are told by the university policies that you must be enrolled for 2 quarters this academic year prior to your fellowship experience in order to be eligible for it. So if you want to do a spring quarter experience, you have to be enrolled for both fall and winter. If you wanted to do a summer experience, you have to be enrolled 2 out of the 3 previous quarters. You must use your flex term during your Cardinal Quarter experience. So you have to save that for when you're doing your Cardinal Quarter. We welcome all academic disciplines, so it doesn't really matter what major you have or whether you've declared or not. We don't really look at that, and we welcome all academic disciplines. If you're not a US citizen, you're still eligible to apply. The stipend comes directly from Stanford to you, so you're not on payroll or anything like that. It's a stipend from the university, so in that way we're able to pay everybody. The only thing is that some opportunities may require citizenship, like for example, some of the Stanford and government placements at the Defense Department or something like that would require your citizenship. So just look kind of at the fine print for some of those programs to make sure that you're eligible. And we do require everybody to have health insurance for the duration of the fellowship experience, just because we want everybody to be healthy and taken care of.
All right, so how to apply. So for those of you who are doing those self-designed opportunities, once you have your host organization lined up, you can get your application started. For those of you who are doing prearranged, the host organizations are already there. So what you're going to do is go to our applications, which Valerie already said can be found at solo.stanford.edu. The applications are very straightforward. It's just a couple of short answer questions. We do have a community partner questionnaire. So if you are finding your own host organization to work with, we do ask that host organization complete essentially a recommendation form as part of your application, and that's all explained in Solo. We also ask for you to include your most up-to-date resume, as well as transcripts. Additionally, we ask for a reference form. So I know sometimes this can seem daunting. It does not have to be a full letter of recommendation. We just want to hear from somebody who knows you well, who can talk a little bit about your ability to be successful in this position. So this can come from Stanford faculty, Stanford staff. If you are a frosh, it can come from somebody that you've worked for before, somebody from high school, somebody who knows you well. It cannot come from another undergraduate student. So Stanford faculty, Stanford staff, somebody former supervisor, somebody who knows you well. After that, we do have a round of interviews. The interviews are relatively short. We do just want to try to get an idea of what it is that you are hoping to do and get a little bit deeper than your application allows. And then offers are made about a month after that application deadline. So trying to move those things along pretty fast. And the community partner questionnaire and the reference form are due on the due date with your application. So there's no extra time to get those in. Everything is due. So if it's a spring, everything is due February 1st. And if it's for the summer, everything would be due that March 15th. So a little bit about our selection criteria. What is it that we are looking for in these applications? As you can imagine, we're looking for a commitment to public service. Well, why are you interested in these opportunities? What is the passion that's driving you in this public service realm? What is your level of preparation? Have you worked with other groups in the same pathway or this interest area? Have you taken courses? Have you done some reading? Have you spoken to staff around campus or other students? What is this connection to your coursework and your future goals? Now, this does not mean that you need to have this perfect straight line trajectory. What we just want to see is how this fits into your overall experience at Stanford. Like, how does this fit under the umbrella of your experience, whether that's exploratory or a specific path that you're on? What is the connection to the other things that you're doing in your time at Stanford? We are looking for your communication skills. So I highly recommend making sure you have readers on those applications just to proof things before you submit them. We're also looking for authentic partnership with a community organization. So the more you have communicated with that host organization before you apply, the more you understand what the organization does and a little bit about the organization and about what your role will be. All of that is really going to strengthen your application. Some additional criteria. So Valerie talked about the project-based experiences. Again, these are those experiences that are student designed in partnership with a host organization, student implemented, there's an immediate impact within the 9 weeks. There's something tangible that gets left for the partner and it's sustainable after the student leaves. So we're looking for a little bit more out of these opportunities. So one is the ability to identify the community needs. Sometimes we think that we know what an organization might need or a specific community might need, but really making sure that we're working in line with an organization and that we're actually meeting needs and not like asserting needs onto a community. Really that design and implementation for the project. So really thinking through before you get on the ground, what are the things that you need to do and how are you going to do them? How are you going to see them through? Have you broken it down into its smallest components? And then things like, what are your measurable outcomes? What's the feasibility? What's the innovation behind the project that you are about to embark on?
So here's just a few quick tips and resources for you as you craft your application and think about the fellowships program. So we would love if you can consider the principles of ethical and effective service when you're writing your application. These are, the tenets that we work and live by at the Haas Center, and they're very important to us. And we think that they're really applicable to any kind of service work that students will be doing. So, look on our website, read through them, kind of think about how you would incorporate them into your service experience during your Cardinal Quarter. Hillary has mentioned this already, but definitely demonstrate your passion and interest in service as well as in your specific placement or project that you'll be doing. That's very important to us, that you are actually interested in what you'll be working on during your Cardinal Quarter. Speak in depth with your community partner to plan your proposed experience if you're doing a self-designed experience. Just because when you're at that interview and we're asking you what are you planning on doing with the organization, a more robust answer with specific projects in mind would be stronger than just kind of a general overview of what the position would be like. Hillary has talked about this already as well, but as for a reference from someone who knows you pretty well, we don't care whether, for the Haas Center, we don't care whether you are asking from a tenured faculty member or not. Like it can be, it can be just somebody who has worked with you and knows you well, knows your work ethic, knows your passion and interests, and things like that. A graduate TA would be totally fine, just not a fellow undergraduate student, or somebody outside of Stanford is fine too if it's a supervisor or somebody like that, or a high school teacher if you're a frosh. Have someone read through your application. There's lots of resources available at Stanford. You can ask, your professors, you can ask your advisor, you can ask, the peer advisors at the Haas Center. The Hume Center is an excellent resource and you really should take advantage of them. They know what we're looking for in these applications and they give really good advice. So book an appointment with a Hume Center tutor. Highly recommend them. And then connect with Beam for resume review and also interview prep. Your resume should be a one-page college resume. If you don't have that, definitely go to Beam and attend one of the workshops or book an appointment with a counselor and have that reviewed. And they also do some interview prep and workshops as well, and that might be also a good resource for you as you prepare for these application processes.
All right. If you have any questions for us, you can email program staff at cardinalquarter@stanford.edu. And you can reach out to one of our Cardinal Quarter peer advisors. The link is on the screen now. They all have appointments and their emails are all up on our website. So you can reach out to them and book an appointment with them and they can help you out as former students who are in the same position as you are now. We look forward to seeing you later and in the application round and interview round, and hope that you have a good winter break.
Okay, thank you. Bye.